Hey, what's happening everyone here? VegetarianZombee coming at you hot with another tutorial about the Far Cry 5 map editor. And in this episode, we're going to be playing with, well, the one tool you guys have requested over and over and over and over and over again, the hole tool. Well, if you don't know what I'm referring to, is in the last video I showed you how you could make a bunker, and ultimately how you could make a bunker with objects. And evidently, the conventional wisdom was that I was doing it improperly. I was doing it poorly or inefficiently. Well, those are the that's from a lot of the criticism I did hear about that. Also, a lot of people did like the video, and if you left me a nice comment, I really appreciate that. If you left me a critical comment, I appreciate that as well. And if you left me a nasty comment, well, guess what? You're not receiving your Christmas card this year. Boo-hoo. All right, guys. So here's the thing. If you're new to this channel and you're watching these tutorials, I am actually learning the Far Cry 5 editor. I am diving into it, and part of how I learn is to create tutorials. That's how we get better. We learn and we basically grow. And as I make these tutorials, I have learned a ton from you guys. And what's even better is I love seeing you guys help each other. I love seeing how you guys will have a problem and will collaborate together to ultimately come up with the best solution. And that's awesome because it not only helps you guys, but it helps me as well. And I'm hopefully going to pass that along to you. Okay, about the whole tool itself. Well, here's the thing. I take responsibility for the last video. I kind of framed it incorrectly. I was talking about building underground. The whole point of the video was to construct surfaces with objects. And ultimately, I built a bunker and I laid it out and built a surface that the player could walk on, access the bunker, go down, and then they would be underground. That was my point. Now, you guys wanted me to place the bunker right up against the ground. You wanted me to be like right flush here. And your argument for not using the hole tool was that it was inefficient. It was terrible to use objects. Oh my God. Okay, guys, here's the thing. Far Cry 5 isn't my first game engine to work with. This is actually not really. This is like a fun hobbyist tool, and it is awesome. I love seeing all the creations that you guys are sending me. But here's the thing. Efficiency to the hobbyist, it's not really the first priority. The first priority, if you're making a map for Far Cry 5, is the player experience. Efficiency doesn't really enter into it. It only enters into it unless you're really just taxing the budget. Now you can see here, look at this. This is a map I've been currently building. This is a journey map where you fly through canyons and so forth. It has one vehicle, so its vehicles are blank. And you'll see that we have collections, trees, and I've been using a lot of trees, and the memory and textures are almost halfway, and you'll see the objects aren't really that. Okay, so let's test out this efficiency on a new map, and let's do this right now. So what I'm going to do is create a new one. Let's save this. We'll start a new one. We'll just make it an assault map, and here we are. We are in the plain assault fields, and you can see my frame rate is like all over the place. A lot of people have talked to me about this as well. Seems like the frame rate bounces around. I'm not too sure why that is. Okay, but let's dive into it. So the thing I want to point out is that not all objects are equal. Okay, so when you place down a rock object, it's going to use a different footprint than, say, a building object. So let's see this right now. I'm going to go to my objects here, and what I'm going to look for is, let's say, an abandoned building. So here's an abandoned building, and now I have, look below, you'll see all my budget. I'm going to select this abandoned building, and this building here is something that it's pretty much prefabricated, if I can say that word. I click that, bam! Look at that increase of memory, textures, and look at that object right there. It is really, really high. And there's a reason for that. This building isn't an expensive building. It has lots of different objects pre-built into it. If we go around through this object here, you'll see lots of different things. We got all this like stuff all over the place. I believe these are breakable. The refrigerator, these all have colliders on it. You'll see that this one object is basically really expensive. So let's pull out here. Now let's see what happens if we use lots of these things. We'll put out there, put out there. Let's do 8 of these. Let's make a nice little family, like a nice little village out of these abandoned houses, and watch my objects as I place these out. You can see our texture and our memory is gone way up, and our objects, well, you can see it's down. It's kind of, it's not too bad, but we have all these guys here, okay? So these are what I would call expensive objects. Now let's select these, let's delete these. Now let's add some new objects. Okay, look at this. We got one large hunk in ice rock. And now look at my memory footprint. Look at my objects. I don't even think it shows up in the objects, actually. We go up here. Oh, gotta love this. Go back here. Our objects are kind of empty. So we'll add a ton of these here. And you can see the difference between the memory and textures compared to the abandoned buildings. In fact, we can expand this too. Let's look for something a little different, but within the same sort of texture genre. Let's look for the ice crack. We can place that here. And look at that. We can put this right here. Bam. Again, my memory and textures aren't that bad. And now the player has a multi-level that they can fall through here. They can look up. They can see this. And now we're working in 2 different levels. So we're thinking with verticality in mind. That is really cool. And it's really cheap. Now, if I want to add some more, we can select this. We can select, let's say, ice cave ground or something. Actually, let's go back to our large ice rock. We can take this here. I can select that, hit the 3 button, and let's do some rotations. I can put it like this, like so. And now we have a surface that the player can step on and walk on. Here we can lower this like that. And this gives me the ability to create additional terrain that looks interesting. The also working with objects to keep in mind is that we're limited with terrain textures. We can only use 4 textures. That's it. So by using objects and by skillfully blending them into the ground, you can create your own types of terrain. And as you can see here, it's not so bad. So the arguments about efficiency, it's really not bad at all. Now, someone said, oh, you're wasting people's time. And again, I argue that this is purely a hobbyist tool. This is meant for having fun. You should be focused on the player. You should not be focused on time-saving techniques, or you should not be focusing on, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. That is so ridiculous. At the end of the day, it is what the player experiences that is the most important. Full stop. Enough said. Now, if someone's willing to come up with some best practices for the Far Cry 5 editor, I am more than happy to check them out. If you have suggestions on how you can improve or techniques that we can ultimately build on to make cooler and awesome maps, I'm definitely willing to hear them. And if you think I'm doing something wrong, by all means, let me know in the comments, but let me know why it's wrong. Don't tell me why I need to do something. Tell me why I should do something. When you tell me that and you give me reasoning, I will listen to you. If you just call me like a dumbass because I'm not doing the thing you like to do, then really, that's the end of the discussion. At least it's the end of the discussion for me. I don't really mind YouTube comments. You guys can yell to the winds. But at the end of the day, it works best for everyone. And I appreciate your passion. That's what's really awesome about working with you guys. For sure. All right, so let's get over to the hole tool. Huzzah. This is what all of you have been waiting for. Oh my God. So what does the hole tool do? It cuts the terrain. It allows the player to fall through the terrain. And what happens when they fall through the terrain? They die. All right, so let's go back to our bunker friend. So I'm going to open up objects here and let's search for bunker. All right, so here are our very interesting bunker pieces. We're looking with the one with the hatch on it. I believe this is it. Here, we'll select that. And what we're going to do is we're going to select this bunker here and we're going to drop it down to the terrain. Boom. Okay, so some of you are like, wow, that's amazing. That's all it took. Well, no, not really. Let's create a object here. We'll go to gameplay mode objects. I believe I need to set this up for a assault map. So here we are. Eliminate all enemies. Let's open up the hatch. And you can see the terrain is blocking it. Oh my God. All right, so we go here and we'll go back to the arcade editor. Now I'm going to go use the hole tool. And you can see we have add a hole or remove a hole. And we can check out the size. Look at this. I am making a giant hole right there. And if we go here, let's play it. You can see our geometry. And if I step off here, I'm dead. Now, what we can do is we can come here, we can remove the hole, and I can decrease the radius, and this gives me, it's almost kind of like a brush here, and we can just paint the hole back. In fact, let's just play around with the size here. Here it is. We open this up, and you can see we can drop down now. Of course, now I can't get back up, but of course, I am underneath the ground. If I step out here, I will fall to my death. And that is, as you can see, that is the hole tool. That is a way we can add bunkers in. One way of doing it. It is not the only way, and I would argue it's not, may not be the best way. Okay, so the moral of the story is don't do blindly what everyone tells you to do. See what works best for that situation on that map. If one technique works well and uses a lot of objects, then use that technique. If you have terrain here and you want to add a bunker here and this works best for that situation, use that situation. And the final thing I would argue is that efficiency is something you should consider last. We have a saying in software development, pre-optimization is the root of all evil. Don't try to hyper-optimize your map as you build it. Essentially, build out your map, and as you find issues with, say, textures or bottlenecks, or you run into budgets, then try to address those issues. Don't go ahead by making your map as lean as possible. Remember, you want the player to enjoy the experience. That's what this all comes down to. We want the players to have fun. And here's the thing, guys, is that when someone plays your map, they will only give it, I bet you, no more than a minute. If your map stinks within the opening minute, those people are going to shut it down and move on to another map. Remember, this map making tool is a appendment to the main game of Far Cry, and this is more of a curiosity to other players. So spend the time and focus on your creativity of the map, as well as the design, level design, and balance of it. Don't focus on whether, wow, I should have used this tool versus that tool. If you agree with me, feel free to leave that note in the comments. And, well, if you disagree with me, feel free to leave a note as well, but do it in a nice, kind, respectful way. If you want to have a conversation about this, I am at my Discord. I will leave the link in the description. I am more than happy to talk it out with you, and I'm even happier to see your maps, because I think your maps are what makes this worth doing. It's just, I love seeing the creativity, and I love participating in the creativity as well. So thanks so much, guys. Again, if you like this video, hit that like button. And of course, if you're liking these tutorials and you want to see more of them, feel free to hit that subscribe button as well. I would certainly appreciate the support. All right, everyone, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.